Welcome to The Explainer. We've got a seriously mind-expanding journey ahead of us today. We're going to zoom all the way out, literally to the very edge of the galaxy, and then we're going to zoom right back in, deep down into the human soul.
Think about this for just a second. When you look up at the night sky, how many of those brilliant twinkling stars are actually already dead? It's wild, but the text we're looking at today points out this fascinating astronomical reality. The starlight we see shining so brightly right now, that light has often traveled for hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of years just to reach our eyes. So we're quite literally looking at ghosts. The physical stars that cast that light might have died off millennia ago, but their light is only just now showing up here on Earth.
And that profound little observation completely sets the stage for our source material today. We're diving into Chapter 8 of a book called The Origin of Happiness. In this explainer, we're going to impartially unpack the book's really fascinating worldview on humanity's place in the universe. We'll see how understanding our cosmic scale can actually completely reshape the way we define personal success and, well, our own spiritual value.
Okay, let's dive into this. The source asks us to compare the macro with the micro. So on the macro side, you have the great universe, right? Filled with billions of swirling galaxies and stars. But then on the micro side, you have the human body. The text suggests that our physical bodies actually contain vast universes of their own. I mean, think about it from the perspective of the microbes and cells living inside us. To them, our internal organs function just like massive planetary systems or entire galaxies.
And that leaves humanity stuck squarely in the middle. From the perspective of the grand cosmos, our entire Earth might just be a single cell, and we're merely the microscopic bacteria living on it. The text argues that humanity is caught right between the extremely large and the extremely small, and because of that, we are entirely unable to objectively measure our true, absolute size in the universe. We are essentially unmeasurable.
Which brings us to a pretty radical perspective on our earthly reality. The source calls this the truth of the three-dimensional world. The author uses this highly vivid analogy, so picture this. Imagine a higher dimensional spiritual reality. From that four-dimensional perspective, our entire three-dimensional universe is basically just a fish tank sitting on a table in a room. Our world isn't the entirety of existence. It's just a contained, temporary training ground for the soul. Meaning, all those little things we stress about on a daily basis, they're completely confined to that little glass box.
To take that analogy even further, the text actually views our life here on Earth like a temporary movie playing on a screen. On-screen, characters might face tragedy, they fail, or they might even die in some dramatic action sequence. But in reality, outside the movie, no actors were actually harmed. The text suggests that our earthly failures are exactly like those movie scenes. Our true spiritual essence remains completely unharmed, no matter what happens in this 3D world.
Section 1. Abandon pretense. Stripping away the worldly illusion.
Now, what's really interesting about this concept is that if our physical world is just a temporary movie screen, then a lot of what we obsess over daily is simply an illusion. The source draws a really sharp line here to help us strip away that pretense. It divides things into two very distinct types of value. On one side, we have utility or worldly value. This is your status, wealth, titles, academic degrees. But these are only valid here on Earth, inside that fish tank. On the other side, we have divine or spiritual value. This represents inner truth, the pure condition of the mind. And the text asserts this is the absolute only value that actually carries over into the next world. The warning here is actually quite stark. The text points out that someone could be a highly respected company president or a super wealthy government minister. But if they're chasing only worldly utility and they lack that true divine value, they're actually living a profoundly empty life. That worldly identity, that outward show, that is the exact pretense the text challenges us to abandon.
So how do we actually do that? Well, the text outlines a pretty intimate but absolutely necessary process. Step 1 requires deep reflection, really examining your daily life and your actions. Step 2 asks you to mentally strip away all your titles, your wealth, your career history, and your societal standing. Just peel it all back. And then step 3, which honestly might be the hardest part, you have to look at what's left. You have to discover what truly remains of your character when all those worldly costumes are completely removed.
Section 2. Standing empty. The power of starting from absolute zero.
That deep reflection we just talked about leads to a really profoundly challenging concept in the text: standing completely empty-handed, having zero earthly attachments. It means reaching a state of mind where you're starting from absolute zero, relying on nothing but your bare soul. To illustrate this, the author actually shares a very personal anecdote. He describes leaving behind this highly secure corporate career. At one point, he says he could borrow over 1 billion yen with a single phone call, just because of his company's societal trust. But when he left to start his spiritual organization, he started with absolutely nothing: no capital, no employees, zero societal credit. He had to rely entirely on his pure, empty core. And this brilliantly illustrates a major theme of the text, because when you accept standing entirely naked and empty-handed in the world, you suddenly eliminate fear. Think about it. If you have literally nothing left to lose, and your foundation is built purely on your inner spiritual truth, you gain this unshakable courage. You are ready to face any difficulty that comes your way. Section 3. The will of the universe, aligning the micro with the macro. So let's begin our grand zoom out. How does this purified, empty human core actually connect back to the vastness of the cosmos we talked about at the very beginning? Well, the text states beautifully that even if we are like small bacteria on the cosmic scale, the will of the great universe flows directly within us. So the crucial point is, this grand cosmic intention isn't just out there, floating around in distant, dead galaxies. It exists right inside our microscopic human existence. Meaning, your physical scale truly does not matter. What matters is the authenticity of that stripped-down inner core we just uncovered. If your inner core is genuine, if it's completely untainted by worldly pretense, the text argues it actually becomes the true vehicle for universal energy. It literally opens the path to ultimate success. Because when your core is pure, it naturally aligns with what the universe inherently desires anyway. And, according to the source, the will of the universe constantly desires generation, development, and prosperity. It always wants to grow. By abandoning vanity and standing empty, the individual perfectly harmonizes with the cosmos's endless drive for continuous growth and evolution. It's like you're tapping right into the ultimate power source. We've traveled all the way from the outer limits of dead stars right down to the innermost truth of the human soul today. So I want to leave you with a question to reflect on long after this explainer ends. When all worldly pretense is finally stripped away from your life, what core remains within you? And does it align with the expansive will of the universe? Thanks for exploring this with me. Keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next one.